After Michael Chen encountered the dark demon and survived using the power mudra taught by the heavenly being, he understood that his abilities required continual refinement. He dedicated himself to rigorous meditation, strengthening his mind and focus. Each day he would wake before dawn, immersing himself in deep contemplation, seeking to harness his powers responsibly. One day, Michael received a call from his college friend, Sam. Sam's voice was strained with worry. His newborn baby was critically ill with an unknown condition, and doctors offered little hope for recovery. They feared the baby might not survive beyond 1 year at the very most. That night, Michael met Sam at their usual coffee place. Sam, overwhelmed with sorrow, confided in Michael. "I don't know what to do, Michael," he said, his voice breaking. "The doctors are baffled, and we're running out of time. I can't bear the thought of seeing my little Tommy suffering like this. Both my wife and I are losing our minds over the possibility of losing our firstborn child." Compelled by his friend's desperation, Michael visited the hospital. As he walked through the sterile corridors, the air was heavy with antiseptic and hushed whispers. Only Sam and his wife could go into the room for the baby's safety. Michael approached the window where he could see the baby's crib, feeling a deep sense of urgency. The air in the hospital room seemed heavy and oppressive, and his heart was filled with an unexplained sense of fear and doom. Anxiety overcame him as he paused at the large viewing window to catch his breath and steady his steps. Michael's eyes widened in shock when he saw a grotesque entity beside the baby. Of course, none of the doctors and nurses were aware of it. The horrifying being had a clawed hand pressed against the infant's chest, exuding a dark, malevolent aura. Michael froze, and at that moment, the demon-looking being looked up, and their eyes met. Michael closed his eyes and mentally willed his consciousness into a single-minded focus and concentration state. With a mind that was completely still and clear, like the surface of a lake in the mountain, he opened his eyes and began to speak to the being, telepathically using the power of his mind. "Leave this baby alone," he said calmly. The entity's eyes glowed with a sinister light as it spoke. "Who are you? Why can you see me?" "I can sense great power in you, but you cannot separate us," it hissed. "Our connection spans lifetimes, and mere words cannot sever it." "What did this newborn baby do to deserve this?" Michael asked, still trying to maintain his composure. "It is beyond the understanding of mere mortals like you to understand such complex, multi-generational, cause and effect relationships," shouted the entity. Michael placed both his hands in prayer and began to pray fervently. He focused all his mental strength, trying to drive the entity away using the sheer force of his mind. Yet, the entity remained defiant. "Your prayers are useless," it sneered. "Our bond is ancient, rooted in past lives beyond your comprehension." Frustration gnawed at Michael as he began to perform the sacred mudra. The entity merely chuckled. "There is nothing you can do to dispel me. Even if you can, I will still be able to return very soon. Our connection is unbreakable." Anger and helplessness surged within Michael. As he prepared to intensify the mudra, his mind was transported to a serene, ethereal place where the heavenly being appeared. "Michael," it said gently, "remember my warning. Do not let anger consume you. Compassion and kindness must guide your actions regardless of who or what you face. Rage will only lead you down a dark path where you will never be able to return from." Disturbed by his encounter, Michael left the hospital and contacted the senior monk in Thailand. He recounted his struggle and sought the monk's wisdom. The monk's advice was simple yet profound. Accumulate good deeds on behalf of the baby. Dedicate these merits to the entity in time. Hopefully, it may be sufficiently appeased enough to leave the baby alone with the debts settled or reduced. Left with no choice, Michael had to tell Sam everything about his unique gifts and how he has been helping beings from other realms of existence move on. Sam was initially skeptical and did not believe what Michael said. Acting on intuition, Michael asked Sam to go visit Sam's mother, who passed away 2 years ago, and her ashes were interred at a niche in the Mandai crematorium and columbarium. Michael saw Sam's mother's spirit and, again, using the power of his mind to communicate with her, told Sam things that only Sam and his mother knew. Sam was finally convinced that Michael was speaking the truth, and the idea of a demon-looking entity being attached to his newborn baby horrified him. Determined, Michael and Sam embarked on a journey of compassion. They visited temples, donated to charities, and performed acts of kindness, dedicating all their efforts to the entity, using the baby's name as a reference since they did not know the entity's name. Michael also requested continuous prayers from the monks in Thailand to grant blessings and kindness to the entity similarly. After a week, Michael returned to the hospital. The entity appeared less malevolent, and its anger and hatred visibly diminished. Although it refused to leave, its hand was no longer on the baby's chest. The doctors noted improvements in the baby's condition. The baby could finally breathe independently and hold the milk instead of throwing up everything it was fed. Sam and his wife felt a glimmer of hope, and Sam became a complete believer in Michael's abilities. Both Michael and Sam kept up their efforts with a renewed effort and focus. Another week passed, marked by continued acts of charity and compassion. When Michael visited the hospital, the entity was no longer beside the baby, but stood outside the ward. It seemed less hideous than before, although it was still scary to look at it. "Consider payment made," it snarled, its voice harsh and guttural. "You were lucky. Any delay, and the baby would have been mine." Michael said, "Wait, what are you? I can sense that you were not a human before this, and you are not one of the element nature spirits I have spoken to before." The entity smirked. "Me? I am called different names in different cultures, and none are fully accurate." It laughed mockingly. "Tell me," Michael said with clenched fists. "Careful, boy. Watch that anger, or you might become one of us in no time," the entity hissed. "But I will tell you this, since I have not met anyone even half as powerful and skilled as you are for the last century," the entity said grudgingly. "Some cultures called my kind jinn. Some called us demons. I am perhaps closer to what the Buddhists called one of the types of beings in the 6 realms of existence, an Asura, demigod, powerful enough to rival and even defeat the ancient deities. We were humans before, but reborn out of anger and hatred until none of our humanity remains in us. We are constantly fighting with each other and with other beings, eternally filled with anger and hatred, seeking vengeance to satisfy our wrath," the entity said. "Not even your precious mudra would have done anything to me. The one you defeated was but a baby to me," the entity mocked. Seeing Michael's look of surprise, the entity chuckled. "Yes, I know who and what you are," the entity said. "I even watched how you were almost taken when you were only 6 months old," the entity mused. "But I managed to convince you to leave, didn't I?" Michael persisted. "Convinced? Me?" "Oh no," the entity laughed, genuinely amused, like how an adult views a child's antics. I am leaving because I am satisfied with the payment, no more, no less. It has nothing to do with you, the entity said arrogantly. Michael felt defeated and helpless, like the baby that the entity mentioned. What could he, a young man, do if that dark entity he dispelled was but a baby to this so-called Asura? As if it could hear his thoughts, the entity said, "Oh, you could have defeated me if you wanted to. That, I have no doubt. Just use the same mudra and the same words, but with deep anger and hatred while using it, and you can defeat most beings. As the saying goes in Chinese, the power of good is like a yard, while the power of evil is multiplied by 10, the entity sneered. Saying that, the entity turned and disappeared like smoke. Miraculously, the baby's health improved rapidly. The doctors, baffled by the sudden turnaround, could only marvel at the unexpected recovery. Sam and his wife, overwhelmed with gratitude, embraced Michael, tears of relief streaming down their faces. As Michael witnessed the miracle unfold over the next few months, he understood the delicate balance between spiritual realms and earthly lives, and how one can affect the other in mysterious ways. His journey as the bridge between worlds had tested his resolve and deepened his compassion, reaffirming his purpose to bring healing and peace wherever darkness threatened to prevail. Michael wondered what the entity meant when it said he knew him when he was 6 months old. From what his mom told him, he was also given up to a year to live when he was a baby, and he also mysteriously made a miraculous recovery just after his father passed away.